I'm Chris Yandak. Today on CYInterview, we are excited to welcome back Bermudan pop star Kaelyn Kastle. She's going to talk about her upcoming music for the summer, among other topics. Kaelyn, it's always so nice to have you on CYInterview. Welcome back. Kaelyn, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You're very most welcome. And secondly, CYInterview is pleased to have our sponsor, the founder of Epic Financial Strategies, LLC, Rob Gill. Rob, thanks as always for being on CYInterview. How are you, sir?
Chris, number one, it's an honor. And I go back to the first time I was on with you, I want to say about 10 years ago. Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible journey.
It's been an amazing ride, from performer, from past CYInterview guest Mike Leach to now here with Bermudan pop star Kaelyn Kastle. So Kaelyn, just to begin, you've been really giving us a preview of what we're going to see from you from the summer music scene. So why don't you tell us about that, what you've been doing on Instagram and TikTok?
Yeah, so I've just been teasing one of my new records. It's called Turn You On. It's a remix of the Kevin Little record. So I'm super excited to jump into that, mostly because it's an island vibe and I'm an island girl, and I gave it more of like a pop feel. So yeah, I'm just excited to just drop the record, and I'm just waiting for my team to give me the right date. But it will be in June, at the beginning of June. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, so last month went through very challenging times for you. You were in a car crash, your car flipped over, you went to the hospital, had some injuries, and then 3 days later you get back on the stage to perform. So tell me about how you're doing, first off, for your fans and for us, and secondly, what it was like to get back on stage 3 days later and what that meant to you overcoming that adversity.
I'm definitely doing better. So I've really been just working on like building up my strength again and just trying to, get back out there. But everybody thought I was crazy. I like jumped on stage 3 days later because the show was sold out. So at that point, it's like, what do? I can't just not show up. So I did what I had to do, and it was painful, but I'm glad that I still performed, because I still got the love, and I was a little nervous at first because I had to change my set completely. Like I'm always dancing and I'm always, like I usually have an explosive set. So this time around my set was very intimate, and I'm glad that I got to spend that time with my fan base and, just sit down and actually sing to them rather than just, dance around the stage. I got to actually spend time with them, and it was cool.
Rob, hearing a Kaelyn story going from basically being in a car crash and then 3 days later getting back on stage, that's absolutely overcoming adversity. So why don't you talk about some of the experiences in your own life, how you have overcome adversity to get to where you are in the financial services industry?
Well, Chris, with your permission, I'd like to be able to edify and honor what she just said. And I think of the great Jay Bilstein when he talked about adversity as life's gymnasium. And leadership is when you show up, right? So as a leader, she showed up. I know so many people that don't show up when they're supposed to show up, and they'll use a car accident as an example of not showing up. Sometimes it's all around me, actually. And one of the things that just stood out was the fact that not only did she show up, right, but the key there was because it was a different style for whatever reason with the accident, she got more of a connective tissue to her audience, heart to heart. Incredible. I can't help but picking up on that. And I think that is a level up. I believe that that's where, people take these, I'm going to use the word opportunity as a car accident, even though it wasn't an opportunity. But the point is that situation allowed you to do something that you could have went the other way and you wouldn't have had the experience that you just shared about. So thank you for that. For me, talking about struggles, I grew up in a scarcity mindset family, not of their own doing on purpose. It just was the culture, the neighborhood, the town that I was brought up in, blue collar, and everything had the mindset of pension and rich people are bad. And there was no education on entrepreneurship. There was no education on if it is to be, it's up to me. So that's where I came from, and still to this day, if I'm not careful, that voice will creep in when I make certain decisions. And in the financial planning space, as we know, it's riddled with all different products, with all different strategies, messaging coming from all different angles, and as a result of it, people are more confused than ever. And if they're not careful, they make decisions not, as Jay would say, based on logic, math, and science, but more on emotional timidity or really just emotional exuberance. And look no further than during COVID when everybody on TikTok was shorting stocks and/or when people were cashing in their 401ks to buy Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, which was no different than what happened in March of 2000 when internet stocks ran. So I'm not going to say it repeats, as Jay would say, but it does rhyme. And if you're not careful when it comes to your money time and your money time freedom to do what you want, when you want, how you want, with who you want, you could put yourself in a position of chasing a rate of return and as a result, living in regret for 5 or 10 years just to catch up.
Oh, absolutely. No denying that. I agree with you. So moving forward, Kaelyn, almost 3 million now followers on your TikTok. Both of you have TikTok, but to begin, Kaelyn, what do you do to keep it fresh? What do you do to keep it interesting? There are, I think, less than 50,000 people who have more than 1 million followers, and you almost have 3 million. So tell me about that.
Honestly, I just try to stay consistent. That's been my biggest thing. I've had a point where I kind of dropped off of TikTok a little bit, just, to give myself some time and some space because social media can become a little bit overwhelming sometimes. But honestly, it's just a blessing to be able to have people want to pay attention to me and, just to be able to share my life with them because it's an everyday experience. And I just want to be able to take people along with me on my experience.
Understandable. Rob,
Yeah.
you have 100,000 people on TikTok as well.
Yes.
You want to ask Kaelyn anything about her TikTok? How do you use TikTok in your daily
Kaelyn,
life?
would you like to coach me?
Yeah, I got you. Definitely, I would coach.
That's incredible. Can I ask you, if you don't mind, Chris, Kaelyn,
Sure.
to grow from 1 to 3 million, what was to me, I'm going to assume it was organic, just being yourself, right?
Yeah.
And as you grew, did you bring on a team to help you along the way? Like, what did that look like as you began to climb up the mountain?
So my growth started with so my first week on TikTok, I don't know if I got lucky. I don't know if I was just playing in the algorithm, but my first week on TikTok, I hit 100,000 followers.
Incredible.
And yeah, I had been singing. I done a viral video with my dad and it just went crazy.
Wow.
And literally within a week, I hit 100K. And then within 10 months, I had hit like 900 and something thousand, and then I had moved into Collab Crib, and I was the second person to hit 1 million on TikTok in Collab Crib.
Wow.
So that was just a great experience for me because I was like, oh wow, like I'm really working towards it. Once I had joined Collab Crib, that was kind of like my first team on social media because we actually sat down on a day-to-day basis and tried to figure out like what's going to help us grow and how can we grow together and how can we integrate our followings to all continuously grow. So I say a lot of the collaborations helped me get to about 2 million. And then after Collab Crib, I also, while I was in Collab Crib, I hired on an assistant who is now my creative director and he's amazing. I have my manager. I have my new manager as well, April Love. Like a team is definitely necessary to help keep everything together. But yeah, it's just been like a breath of fresh air, like I described earlier to Chris.
Yeah. And have you been able to leverage your channel into other platforms and other relationships with advertising along the way?
Yeah, so I've worked with a lot of major brands because of my TikTok and Instagram as well. But TikTok, that's the leading app right now.
Yeah.
So a lot of these major brands want to jump on and like come on board because of what my following looks like and what my reach can be.
Okay.
So yeah, I've worked with brands that I've never even thought I could work with coming from where I'm from.
Yeah.
So it's just been a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just happy to be able to do what I love every day.
Beautiful. Yeah, Chris, that's tremendous. And I think that surviving that success is also the key, right? So for her to be able to play in that space and continue to elevate and be able to level up is I'm grateful to be on this call and just learning what I can.
Oh, absolutely. So moving forward, I want to talk with you both about something that you both relate to in different areas of your life. But Kaelyn, to begin, what I love about Kaelyn, Rob, is that She looks like she's a female rapper, but she's actually a pop star.
Why does she look like a rapper? She doesn't look like him.
Yeah, she's doing something. She's doing something different that the other women of her music generation are doing. She's going the pop route, and if you go to her page or Instagram or TikTok, you'll get to hear some of her music. But that's what I really love about Kaelyn, is that she just does things differently. So Kaelyn, why do you speak about how you chose to go down a different road as you continue to go into your music career here?
Right. So honestly, I've always been a singer. It's kind of like pop music has always been my heart. I know a lot of artists, usually when they sing, they're like, oh, I'm gonna be an R&B artist. And I just felt like, honestly, R&B is cool, but I feel like pop is more fun. And that's just that's my personality. I'm very bubbly. I'm very happy. I'm very, I'm always the one that's ready to crack a joke. And I also just wasn't scared to jump on social media and just genuinely be myself, like I've been vulnerable. I've been I feel like it's necessary to tell my story and to always show off who I am now rather than, portray something that I'm not. And I feel like a lot of the females in the industry right now are just chasing things that they're not, or they're trying to necessarily, I would say, like create music that they haven't lived through. So a part of me taking the pop route was, just being able to tell my story. And I like to talk about things that I've experienced, or even if I haven't experienced, someone close to me has, whereas I've felt what they've felt to be able to tell this story. But yeah, that's mainly the reason I took the pop route. And it's because it's fun. Like I said, I'm here for a good time.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. So Rob, speaking about doing things differently, I think that you in your own career have continued to do things differently. So why don't you talk about that? Rob, you're on mute. Rob, I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead, Rob. Yes, go ahead. We'll do the edit in between. Don't worry.
I apologize.
Did you hear the question?
Yeah. So here's my thought. When I look at the financial services industry, Chris, and I love what Kaelyn just talked about, where she kind of changed her style up, right? But still, everything with her leads from the heart, right? So for me, it came down to how do I get in front of more people to tell the story of creating financial freedom? And the traditional way is like, hey, get with an accountant, get with an attorney, create a collaboration. But all 700,000 licensed agents do that, pretty much. So what can you do differently? And I began to ask myself a different question. And as I asked myself a different question, what happened was I began to realize that social media is the power. And influencers that have communities that love them is even more powerful. So I read Tony Robbins' book, Money Masters of the Game, back in 2015, which was an incredible book about education and what kind of questions to ask your financial advisor. But I realized in that book that every single person that bought it was going to the company he has his money with. So I said, hey, let me go join Tony Robbins. I'll become part of that group. I joined Tony Robbins. There was 18,000 people there, and I realized I wasn't going to be in his group, at least at that time. But I met 3 people, 2 of which Chris, and one of them was Chris Crone, who has a million people on YouTube and 1 million on TikTok and like say 400, 300,000 on Instagram. And he became my first dancer. So the language of influence, which was originally taught to me by Jay Bilstein, was then taught to me by Sean Callaghy. And then from there, Chris Crone began to be the person, like Kaelyn, that would tell everyone in his community that Rob Gill and his team are really good at financial planning. And basically, we went from 8 to 3,000 appointments a month in about 20 months.
Yeah.
And as a result, I got 100,000 followers on TikTok. I'm no social media sensation, but I will tell you one thing, Kaelyn, in my videos that I launched the rest of this week, what I am going to do is have your music behind them. Yes.
Thank you. I love that.
Yes, 100%. I will give you tags. And if you see me, I'll give you some tags and shout outs. Chris, you'll love this. 80 days ago, I started an AAU basketball team. 2 of them, one for Robert and one for Riley, 16, 17.
Sure.
And the AAU world is so corrupt that the handlers really take all the money for the star players. And because I didn't owe anybody and I funded it myself, 80 days later, we came in 3rd place out of 180 teams, of which 30 got sneaker deals. And we came in 3rd place because I formed a partnership with the country of France their AAU program. I have the whole thing videotaped over the last, I'd say 60 or 70 days. And we are heading into July, where eventually we're going to play in Vegas. I'll be out there to see you with my Epic Elite International Paris team.
Looking forward to that, absolutely, here. CYInterview is based in Las Vegas. So let's go around one more time now. Speaking of the business spirit, I want to ask Kaelyn. Kaelyn, I saw the story that CNN did with you, and you talked about how you wanted to be more than an artist. You wanted to be a businesswoman. You wanted to expand into all those different horizons. Of course, Forbes 30 under 30 last year, I believe. So why don't you tell me about what the process has been like to expand beyond just being a person who sings songs, which is great, but obviously you want to own every part of it.
So honestly, it's been a learning experience. Let's always start with that. And I feel like it's always important to grow and develop yourself, whether it's me with my business hats on or whether it's me with my artist hats on. So a big part of me being an artist, I've done it a lot differently because I haven't signed a major deal yet. I've done a distribution partnership so far. And now eventually, like I've always said, I've wanted to expand and sign with a major, but it has to make sense. So I wanted to build up my own leverage, which was my following through social media. So that was my first avenue that I ever really took, because it was like, okay, I'm doing something different as an artist. I see the value in creating an audience that, is curated to me rather than the traditional route where, labels create the artist. So that's like my first business hat over there as an influencer. Then as Collab Crib ended, I saw the opportunity with my manager, Keith Dorsey. He opened Collab Studios and I came on as a director, and I own my own rehearsal space in there. So it was just something that I was like, okay, this is something that I need, because like I fund everything myself as far as being an artist, which most artists don't, because I don't owe anybody.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I don't owe anybody. Everything that I make, I put back into my business, and I opened my own space inside of the studio. So 20% of the studio, that's mine. Of our 8,000 square foot studio space that we just opened called Collab Studios. And I rehearse there, but not only I rehearse there, other artists are coming to our studio to rehearse in my space, which is Castle Corner.
And they pay.
Cool. Yeah, so other artists, right, and they pay to rehearse in my space. Like I was paying. I was constantly paying. And that can become a big overhead when you're constantly rehearsing for shows, or just to stay up to par, or just to stay the industry standard as an artist. So that was dope. Then on top of that, I just started doing influencer trips. So we've done one with Monster. And then now I'm working with the Department of Tourism in my country to also plan influencer trips and make that something annually that I can do and help, like become more of an ambassador for my country as well. And I'm just finding myself putting on new business hats constantly, and I'm exploring new endeavors as an artist, which a lot of artists aren't doing. And it's just been a blessing. Like, that's all I can say. It's been a blessing.
Kaelyn lives near a train station, ladies and gentlemen. That's what that was.
That's the money train in Red Bank when you hear the train go back. It happens every 15, 20 minutes. We call it the money train.
That is great, Rob. I agree with you. So let me point it to you now, hearing what Kaelyn said. And I watched one of your recent TikTok videos, and I think it was very well said. You said people can be a doctor, they can be a lawyer. That's great. But why not be a doctor, a lawyer, and also a business person at the same time, and look at how much your income will go up? So why don't you talk about the desire to be an entrepreneur, and maybe you have anything that you'd like to say about what Kaelyn just said?
Yeah, first of all, Kaelyn, I feel like in this conversation, and thank you on the student, I really appreciate not only your patience this morning, but just the wisdom that you're sharing. And I'm just blown away, wondering what happened at the age of 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 that allowed you to understand the business side of this so fast. Incredible. So I want to edify and honor you in that respect. That video, Chris, actually on Facebook went viral, believe it or not.
Wow.
Not on TikTok, but on Facebook, we got over 650,000 views on that video. And I think what was great about that video was, the three top paying professions. I think it was a doctor, lawyer, and accountant, right? But what I really dug deep into, because I know certain doctors that make 500 grand and some that make 10 million. And the ones that make 10 million are entrepreneurs because they own different surgical centers. They own a lot of real estate, and they really aren't just part of the hospital or they're part of their general practice. Like Kaelyn was just speaking about, they were into collaboration with other doctors. Think of the Mayo Clinic, the right hand speaking to the left hand. So for me, as an entrepreneur who owns his own social media company, his wife, well, my wife owns her own, the Registered Investment Advisory. I own the insurance division. We now own Epic Elite AAU, which is going to be a marketing sports agency company. That's where that's going next. And we're opening up our own NIL collective to pay athletes, name, image, and likeness that are both in high school and college, and really bring that forth, because at the end of the day, and the road at the back here comes down to financial abundant mindset. And how can people live the life that they want to live, not chasing a rate of return, but understanding that they can, whether it's Kaelyn, whether it's me, whether it's somebody that's going to watch this, they can live the life financially they want to live if they get out of the box that they're in. And if they understand that there is ways to do it, to get educated, maybe not so much traditionally, but more non-traditionally, to put themselves in a position to prosper. And that's really what I stand for when it's all said and done, how to go from scarcity, financial scarcity, to financial abundant mindset.
Thank you for those words, Rob. So in closing, Kaelyn, anything you'd like to add about your music for the summer? Anything you haven't said yet?
It's gonna be explosive and it's gonna be dope. That's what I want to say. I'm just excited to be able to drop new music.
How do I get backstage? What do I got to do? How much is the pass to get backstage?
I'll let you know for sure, but I'm sure I'll just give you a backstage pass. I've enjoyed you dropping some gems for us today.
And Rob, anything you want to add in closing?
Chris, thank you so much for the follow-up in Vegas. The 3 times we were out there, I think it was 3 times. And to get us to the point where we are today, this is an incredible gift. Super grateful to be part of it. Honored to be a sponsor of CYInterview. Honored, truly.
Well, we really appreciate that, Rob. So for Bermudan pop star Kaelyn Kastle and sponsor and founder of Epic Financial Strategies LLC, Rob Gill, I'm Chris Shandick for CYInterview. Thank you for watching today's CYInterview segment from Las Vegas. Please hit the like button and please hit the subscribe button to be updated on all future CYInterview content from Las Vegas and beyond.